Section 4 is where we really start to get into the meat and potatoes of the analytical framework, and we're going to start off with the Intro to Global Macro Fundamental Analysis. Now, the purpose of this section is to introduce and familiarize you guys with macro fundamentals and make sure you develop an understanding of how money flows through our financial system. So we're going to do this with 4 lectures: the folly of traditional economics, the transactions economic model, the single most important macro fundamental. We're going to top it off with central banks. Now, the folly of traditional economics. First lecture in our 4th section here. And we need to really go over why economists don't do well in the markets. And this is a picture of Alan Greenspan. Some of you guys might know of him. He is a former Fed chairman. And these guys sound really smart. They have very complex theories and a lot of complex mathematical equations, but they're notoriously bad traders. They use overly complex mathematical models. They don't accurately model what's really going on in markets, and markets are much more emotionally driven than they give them credit for, so they simply don't work. And a great example of this is long-term capital management, which was a hedge fund that was set up by these guys, by Nobel Prize winners in economics. They thought they could master the markets with their math models, and what happened was they had a really good run for a while, and then it all just blew up really quickly. And this kind of really humbled the economists and proved that you can't just stick a simple equation in markets. It's much more complex than that, and it's hard to distill down emotion into math. Instead, you're going to want to pay attention to guys like this. And we know who this is from our first section. He was in our billionaire profile. This is Ray Dalio. And why do we want to listen to guys like this instead? Is because traders, guys that run actual hedge funds, they have to develop sound models, otherwise they go broke. Okay, academics don't have skin in the game. Guys like Greenspan do not have, they don't need to make money for clients. They get paid on a salary, and they just like to debate stuff in an ivory tower. All right, their models aren't tested every day in a game of profit and loss. In contrast, guys like Dalio, they need to be right because they need to make money. So in conventional economics, this is the standard supply and demand graph, and a lot of people have seen this, but I'll explain it a little bit just in case some of you guys haven't. And you got price on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis you have quantity, and this is the equilibrium point where supply and demand meets. So at this quantity in the market will pay this price for it. But there's a big problem with this model, and it's actually a little too simple for financial markets. The conventional model does not account for what type of buyers we're dealing with, and this is a big deal. So governments, banks, and consumers are all different buying profiles, all with different incentives. And the conventional model does not account as well if these goods are bought with money or credit. And I can't stress this enough. This is such a big deal. Okay, goods being bought with money or goods being bought with credit are 2 different things. So instead, Ray Dalio came up with this transactions model, and this is the model that we want to learn and really try to internalize, because this is more representative of how financial markets work. So you can see on the left here, we have multiple buyers, each with their different reasons, and they use money or credit to buy stuff. So on the demand side, you have a total amount of dollars chasing a good, and this market can be any type of market. All right, this is one particular market. Let's say it's apples. It's the apple market. Apples. So you have these different kind of buyers that are throwing money into the apple market, and the producers are all producing their apples, and they throw their apples into the market. And so what you do to find the clearing price is you take the total amount of money thrown into the pot, divide it by the total amount of apples into the pot, and you get your price. It's just a different way to derive and come to a price. And then additionally, we make an emphasis here that total dollars equals money plus credit. And you'll see later in the lectures that are about to come why this distinction, money versus credit, is so important.